Greetings. This demonstration will walk you through the process of creating a data file in the SPSS Statistical Analysis program. Obviously, we have to begin by opening the program. So we can go to the Start menu. It's pasted here for my programs, but you can also go to All Programs, IBM SPSS Statistics, and SPSS Statistics 19. That will then eventually open the SPSS program, where you'll start with the dialog box. You can simply hit cancel. You'll notice on your data summary sheet that we're going to be working with 5 variables. We need to start by telling the program what variables we're working with. To do that, we go to the bottom left and click on Variable View. The first column in Variable View is labeled Name. That needs to be a short description of a variable, emphasis on short, and it has to start with a letter. So we'll use the same variable names that are listed in our sheet here. Case, and you'll notice that when I enter the first name, it populates all of the fields across. There are only 2 others that we're interested in right now. One is label. This is a longer name, and it helps us if we have a lot of variables to find the one we want. So in this case, I'll just put unique identifier here. If we're working with a quantitative or qualitative variable, we'll also use the values area. But I'll come back to that in a minute. Our second variable is age. So it's just age of participant. Third variable is music, or the type of music they prefer. This is our first qualitative variable, and SPSS can't work with the qualitative variables in some of the analyses. So that's when we go over to the values area. And notice when I click on it, it brings up this little blue box. And click on the blue box, and this is where we need to tell SPSS how to treat this. So in this case, I'm going to tell it that if the participant said they liked country music, I'm going to type in the number 1. And then I have to click Add to put it in the list. And 2 will mean that they liked popular rock. 3 will mean that they liked other kinds of music. To make sure and add at the end of each of those, and then when we're done, we can hit OK. MTV, that variable represents the response to the question of whether or not they like to watch MTV. And again, we need to tell it what labels we're using. So in this case, if they said no, they don't like it, I'm going to say 0 is no, and 1 is yes. Clicking Add and say OK. There's no real meaning of the numbers because those are nominal variables. We just need to tell SPSS how to treat them. And then finally, we have an extroversion score, which is their score on the extroversion scale. Now those are set up, we can hit Save in the upper corner of the screen, and we'll just call this Creating a Data File, and hit Save. You'll notice this brings up an output window. SPSS creates an output window that gives us a crumb trail, so to speak, of everything we do in a file. That can be really helpful sometimes. Now if we go back over to our original window and go into the bottom left-hand corner to go to Data View, we see that it's filled in the names of our variables, and now we can enter our data. So since case is just a identifier for each of the variables in our set, it's pretty systematic. We can go down and just say case 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, that's not a 10. 10, 11, and 12. Now we can go across and fill in the information for each case. So my first case, 27 years old, he liked country music, which was number 1. SPSS will also give us a drop-down menu, so we could select that there if we wanted to. He said no, he didn't like it, MTV, and his personality score was 5. Case number 2 is 25 years old. They liked popular rock, and again, they did not like MTV. Their extroversion score was 8. Okay, rather than have you sit there and watch me type in data and perhaps get a little seasick, I've skipped ahead a little bit in the process, just going across to enter the information for each of my variables. And so now my data set is complete. In other words, a complete data set will have the information that you have for each case. Make sure you hit save as you go through it, otherwise occasionally you have to go backtrack a lot of work. So that, in a nutshell, is creating a data file in SPSS.